Hey everybody, I'm Mike, and this is the Game Block, the show where we talk about video games. I might even ramble on and on about something else that's completely unrelated, but then I'll find my way back to the video game I was talking about, so on and so forth. And yes, if you're wondering, I have not had no sleep. I am running on fumes right now. Let's have fun. Okay, let's talk about the PlayStation VR for a bit. You know, when Sony first announced they were throwing their hat into the VR gaming ring, I was a bit skeptical. Really didn't know what to make of it at the time. And thinking back to when the last time a company attempted to do VR, yeah, that didn't go too good. But here we are, many years later. Technology in gaming has advanced by leaps and bounds, so it kind of makes sense as to why some companies would want to try their hand at it again. Before PlayStation VR was made available to the public, the HTC Vive as well as the Oculus Rift was already out there getting high praise, but I still wasn't totally on board the VR hype train just yet. One thing I kept hearing from the news outlets and YouTubers alike was that VR was something that you had to experience for yourself, as just watching gameplay footage or hearing someone talk about it just wouldn't do it justice. Sony would go on to announce that in the summer of 2016, we would all be able to visit our local GameStops and Best Buys to try out PlayStation VR for ourselves. Again, my interest was piqued, but my expectation bar was set very low, mainly because out of all three VR headsets, the PlayStation was considered the weakest in terms of power, and the move sticks that were to be used alongside some of the games were a bit outdated. So yeah, I really wasn't expecting much from it. So I went to a Best Buy near me and got a chance to experience PlayStation VR firsthand. And hot damn, they were right. I only played for about 10 or 15 minutes, and the game I chose to play was Eve Valkyrie, but my goodness, it was amazing. So let me just paint a picture for you right quick. I sat in a chair, I put the headset on along with the headphones, and then I was handed a controller. It was a bit blurry at first, but once everything was adjusted and came into focus, I realized I was sitting in the cockpit of a ship about to be blasted off into space, and I could not stop smiling. Seriously, I cannot remember the last time something like that impressed me so much that it totally had me sold on it afterwards. Of course, after I got a hold of one myself, I must say the first month and a half was just a blast. Everything else was put on the back burner to the PlayStation VR. Not only did I enjoy the demos that came with the bundle, but I also went on to purchase both Batman and Until Dawn Rush of Blood. Both amazing games, definitely worth checking out if you get the chance. Now, let's just fast forward to almost a year later. The PlayStation VR is still alive and kicking, but not with the same force or hype that it had when it first released. Yeah, there's been a lot of tech demos and indie games that did some interesting things with VR, but we're still missing that steady stream of AAA titles to really show off its full potential. Really, the only game I feel actually did this right was Resident Evil 7. Now, first and foremost, with or without VR, the game is amazing, but in VR mode, the intensity is kicked up as well as the overall immersion, without much loss to the core game itself, which is pretty good. Most importantly though, this game doesn't separate its player base. With or without VR, the entire game is playable from beginning to end, and that's the major factor I feel is needed for the long-term survival and growth of the PlayStation VR. Making games that don't separate but unify VR and non-VR players is key. Imagine how longer the lifespan would have been for games like Riggs had it been presented as a game that could be played by all gamers and not just the ones with VR. As PlayStation VR hits its 1-year anniversary, the energy is definitely not the same that it was at launch, but with Sony promising a slew of games coming forward in the near future, I'm really hoping that it goes the distance and it doesn't remain in its current state, which is, limbo. And I really do hope that this, PlayStation VR doesn't end up becoming this just relic that years and years and years from now, I end up auctioning off to the highest bidder, and it's going to be some kind of crazy bidding war. You're gonna get like two guys going back and forth while you got that one big guy with the hat saying 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60. And then the one guy in the crowd, he's gonna become so frustrated that he can't get this PlayStation VR that he just stands up and say, hey, look here, buddy, I'm not spending another dime. You're gonna give me that VR or I'm gonna kick some ass. And then at that moment, the whole crowd just erupts. There's fighting. People are throwing chairs and bottles. You see a couple of drop kicks, and then someone jumps on the table and does a Michael Jackson spin before jumping off, and it's complete anarchy. And here I am in the background smiling with glee saying, dance, puppets, dance for your PlayStation VR. Yeah, so I hope it never ever comes to that, really. And if you have yet to experience PlayStation VR for yourself, I highly recommend finding someone who has one and try it on out. Just don't come to my place. Don't come onto my property because I'll be forced to release the hounds, and you just don't want that. So let's not open that bag of chips, okay? And folks, that will do it for me. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you want to, by all means, smash that like button if it's worthy. And hey, subscribe because why not? There'll be more videos on the way, more rambling from me, which is mainly fueled by my insomnia. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Until next time, peace out, YouTube.